at the door? Okay, thanks for coming today. This is a new initiative from Strategic Services. It's strategic conversations in 60 minutes, and we do want to keep it to 60 minutes. These sessions are designed to inform and educate staff about the various functions and within our division. These are educational presentations from a subject matter expert. You may or may not intersect with this person on a regular basis, but this will give you an opportunity to learn something if you don't always intersect with this particular individual. Or if you do, it'll give you the opportunity to ask questions that you may not always have time to during the busy work day. Our first presenter is Scott Luthman, Code Official, Office of Codes and Standards. Scott has been here just under 3 years, although the office was created well before that. He was previously a municipal employee in Highland Park as Director of Code Enforcement, and he will talk about this office today, how it came about, the unusual relationship Rutgers has with the state, which helps expedite construction on our campuses. The session is also being live streamed on Facebook, so if you're out there on Facebook and want to ask questions, you can just type them into the comments section, and hopefully we'll have some time to read them later. Scott?
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank Joseline and Elizabeth for having me speak this morning. So we're going to go over a little bit of the history of our department and actually what we do. So up until the late 80s, early 90s, Rutgers basically worked off an annual permit for their small projects and renovations, and from there, everything else went to the state, DCA, for plan review, inspections, permits, and certificates. In the late 80s, early 90s, Rutgers and the state developed their first MOU. It was pretty simple. DCA would continue to do all the Class 1 plan review, and still issue the permits and the certificates, but allowing Rutgers to do all of the inspections, which was a big change because one of the issues they were having back then was the waiting for state inspectors to come out to show up to the project. So this allowed the flow of the project to continue on without any big delays. Two important parts of that MOU was the continued use of the annual permit and the hiring of Rutgers' first construction official, full-time, and part-time subcode and part-time inspectors. This project continued until 2013 when a new MOU came out. Pretty much everything was the same, except for two big changes. Rutgers would now be issuing all the permits, all the certificates, and the annual permit was removed. So this would require permits now under the UCC that before, under the annual permit, it was not required. This sent shockwaves through the planner estimators, the project and area managers, because there was a lot of confusion with the new changes. And a big part that came about too was the added workload brought on by the large number of new buildings that were being constructed, large renovations, the removal of the annual permit, the merge with the UND, and the state considering Rutgers one of the 10 largest cities in the state. So Rutgers decided it was time that we have to develop our own full-time construction department. So I was hired in November of 2015. Part of my hiring as the associate construction official at that time was to develop this department. And I was given to January 1, 2016 to have it completed. So January 1, we became a new department under ip&o. We were called Codes and Standards. So one of the first items that we knew that we had to address is to go back to the planner estimators, project managers, and those teams, and to go over the proper process of how to get the permits, what needed permits, and how we were going to go from that time forward. Codes and Standards, our department is very, run just like any other city, municipal, or town department. All of our subcodes and our inspectors have 30 years of field experience. Actually, two of my subcodes have over 30 years experience at Rutgers. We are a Class 2 department under the MOU, but our whole department is Class 1 inspectors. Everybody is HHS, high hazard inspectors. Rutgers is the first of only 2 universities in the state that's allowed to have a construction department. It's us and it's Montclair. Codes and Standards does not charge. We don't charge for plan review or for our permit fees. We are a cost savings department. Fiscal year 2016 through 17, we saved after our department costs $1.2 million to the university. So that would have been almost a $2 million charge that would have been sent by the state that we saved the university. This year we're over $2 million already, and we still have 3 more months to go. With Rutgers owning buildings in every county in the state, we inspect from Stokes Forest to Cape May, from Camden to Newark. Last year we did over 1,600 inspections alone. Code Standards is assisted by the review and design team, which is led by Dave Schultz and assisted by Dave Nelson and Sean Wang, and many others. Nowhere is this found in the state of New Jersey. They not only review our code for the state, they also review everything with our design standards. We don't have, one of the good things we do not do is we don't have to, we have no association with the state. There is a little break there, so we don't transmit any information to the state. So all we actually do is we take care of we have a permit log, inspection log. So, we're pretty open to all that. And that's basically us. There's not a lot more, The biggest thing is the guys are out there every day. There's days we send 4 cars out to different areas. I can tell you in the 3 years, I've only had to tell basically somebody no 3 times that we couldn't do the inspection that day or the next day. So we're usually on site within 24 or 48 hours on any request that we get. And that's about it. Any questions from anybody?
Scott, how long would it take the state to be on site, just to give people the...
Well, normally with the state, you're assigned, they would give you 2 or 3 days a week. It's mainly 2, so you would say have an inspector with the state here Tuesday and Thursday only. So if you need an inspection Friday, you'd have to wait till the next Tuesday.
Scott, question comes in is when is actually a permit required? And I'll give you an example. I'll look at this room right here, and we have a flood and the ceiling comes down. And while the ceiling is going to go back up, somebody makes a decision, listen, let's trick this room out. Let's put new lighting in. Let's do some other new things. What would we require a permit, and where is it required?
Well, the change of fixtures today under the code doesn't require a permit. What would happen in that case if you had electrical issues, lights, they would have to be replaced. But basically, in that situation, no permit would be required.
So no permit would be required for doing something like this,
That's
in
correct.
this room in particular.
That's correct.
So even if somebody was coming here and wanted to do an energy saving for rebates, again, no permit required?
That's correct. If you're going, like this room has 12 lights, if you're going to go to 16 lights, a permit will require for those extra lighting, yes.
Okay, because you're not replacing in kind.
That's correct.
Well, that's what normally would happen here anyway, because if you were doing this room over, this room was done to a standard of 25 years ago. It would be changed. So that would be the time to give you guys a call, basically, and say, hey, what do we need? Yes,
and what the process would be, you come upstairs, we have the permits, at this point right now, all permits come to me. I process the permits. The jackets, everything are upstairs, so if you have, you come to the office, everything is there available for you.
Well, I like to compare this room to this building to the room across the street at AT&T. If I was the project manager for this job, am I allowed to go to you and say what is required? Because now we're Rutgers, now we're not a municipality.
Correct.
I want to look at the differences, what you guys bring to the table as opposed to a municipality. If this was a municipality, I would walk in and say, what's required? You would say, well, code's required, because you wouldn't be part of the design, correct?
We are not part of the design.
But in Rutgers, you may help with the design.
We do.
All right, so that's quite a difference is what I'm
Yes.
driving at, is that if this was across the street at AT&T, and I was a contractor, and I went to the construction official will tell me, you're not the designer, but here you would help.
Right. What we do, and exactly what's going to happen at 10:30, Dave, Sean, and myself, we will be going to a turn page. So one thing that's very different with a municipality is when designs come in, we see them at like 4 or 5 different at times. We sit in turn page. They start at 8:30 in the morning. They could go to 3 o'clock this afternoon. We are part of that process. So.
So you're actively participating in the design to meet standards.
That is correct. That is correct. And we also, Dave's group does not go out into the field, so we are kind of their eyes, especially with the Rutgers standards. A lot of times that is, that's an issue because contractors are used to only building to the code, but we also have our standards which are above the code.
Hey, Scott, what type of technology are you currently using, you and your staff using currently, both in the office and in the field?
All right. All the inspectors have they have their own iPads. That's all field. Our elevator inspectors have full, in the field laptops where they are, connected to anything they need to connect to. Software-wise, I said at the beginning, we don't have to transmit to the state. So what we did is I met with REHS and they assigned Nick Taylor, and Nick actually developed a software program for us. So we have our own software program that we handle for our permits, inspections, and any of the information we need to generate.
So where do you see it headed in the future with technology? Is there anything out there on the horizon that you're thinking of incorporating into your program?
At this point, no, because the program that Nick actually developed is probably better than anything the state has. So I think we're ahead of them right now.
Are you looking to integrate that into our work management system?
Yes. Sometime in the future, we'll be sitting down with Jeslene's group to try to integrate that in, so that's available. But right now, that information is available to anybody. You can go right online and actually see that information. It's there.
Okay, so if we wanted to do that, just send you an email, contact you that
Yes.
way? Or?
Yep.
Okay. For the link?
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? It's been pretty easy so far.
Yeah. So who gets to inspect the buildings in Cape May, and do they go in July? I'm just, because I want that.
Yeah, and we usually have this electrical engineer that wants to go because he likes to go crabbing
There you
when he's
go.
down there.
In fact, can you tell us about some of the installations that are in these off areas, these off-campus areas?
Basically, a lot of the outlining we've been doing, a lot of generators, not too much work. I understand we have the one where the Cousteau boats are stored. They're trying to get some work done there. But it's basically research. Most of it's temporary. It's not a year-round situation down there.
Hey, Scott, do you run into any problems? I know you have a Marine Field Station out there in Tuckerton and all. Do you run into any special problems with some of these outlying areas in terms of conditions out there that you see?
Well, some of the areas are pretty rough out there. A lot of the housing, the guys have been out there. I have not. A lot of the students they stay in trailers. But I mean, I know when we go to the one, the guys have to walk a half a mile in because there's no road to the buildings.
Wow.
Talking to the guys.
How do you handle special inspections?
Special inspections are done by a third party. So if it's steel, it could be steel. It could be again, all of our footings and everything are checked not only by us, by third party. So that is hired through the project manager. We don't get involved with that. We don't even take in the reports on that. That stays within the project manager. But a lot of that is double. We see it, they see it.
Scott, we're starting to see a lot of the fire code officials, a lot of the issues with rooms that are being used inappropriately, storage rooms turned into offices, things like that. Everybody kind of grabs spaces where they can, it seems like. What's the best way, what's the correct way to handle it if we're looking to find out if we can change the usage of the room? Is there a standard? that we can follow that helps us along with making those changes?
The easiest thing there would be stop in, talk to me. We can sit down with Dave and his group to go over what we need to make that change properly, and then we'll just proceed from there. You guys are running into a lot of fire violations too, understand that. The state also made a change. Fire officials used to designate occupancy loads. It's been changed. It's now under me. We are working with the facility side to try to get that all mapped out and try to take care of those violations. I've met with the chief. He's given us some time to get that worked out. It's not as easy as everybody thinks, because it's going to be a lot of legwork to go into each area to find out what's actually there. And you're correct. We go into rooms. I went to a room 2 weeks ago. It was supposed to be a lecture hall. I go there. It's a full theater, all set up with stage. We didn't even know that.
So Scott, when you run into those situations, okay, how can you remedy that? You know, do you have any authority to go ahead and tell people you've got to get this out of here? Or how do you
Yeah,
handle it?
we do. But what we do is we'll sit down with that area manager or whoever's in charge of that building, assigned to that building, and we work it out. We get it done. A lot of times it's done properly. They just didn't do the proper paperwork. Anything else? Yes.
The REHS developed program, does that include some type of an inspection report? Or
Yes.
how we typically
Has a
handle it?
full. It tells what inspections were done on what days. Has a full report that you can go online, put in a date, January to December. It'll give you every inspection that we've done.
So that would be something we can issue to the contractor if they're asking. I mean, some of the bigger jobs up in Newark where the contractor asks, oh, can we get an inspection report on our deficiencies? That's included in that, or?
Anything that's under my department, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Any inspections we've done are in there. All inspections are processed on Monday for the prior week.
Great.
Yes.
Does your office have any jurisdiction over lease spaces where Rutgers is the tenant, or is that going to maintain the status quo as it used to be?
It all depends what kind of reaming is done between Rutgers and that vendor. Some of the lease space we do, some we don't. Like in New Brunswick, the new buildings, the lease space, the retail is handled by New Brunswick, not by us, even though it's our building. So
What about like a typical office lease in 120 Albany Street, for instance?
our building?
It's not our building. We do lease. We have a presence there, but it's
No,
not.
that would go through New Brunswick.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yes. We only inspect or handle anything that's a Rutgers building.
Okay, and now you had mentioned about the fire inspections that are now coming through you. Does that apply to their inspections too with lease spaces? How does that work?
What comes, I've been helping facilities out with some of the violations that they're getting to help get corrected. The only thing that directly comes to me is the occupancy load violations, the signage.
Okay.
Yes.
Scott, do we always need signage and drawings for every job? Like,
Every-
I'm more so talking about the smaller jobs or...
Every drawing that comes to my desk has to be signed or sealed. If it's not, it's returned. We have to. That's a standard Rutgers has, and Dave's group also will not accept unsigned drawings. We do, and everybody knows we have architects on staff. So if they can do a sketch and do the sign and sealing too, we accept that.
Scott, are you planning on, I know we're developing some websites here, we're going to have individual pages for probably have a page for codes and standards. Do you plan on putting a full menu up on your current process, frequently asked questions and all that?
Yes. Once we get to that comes available, we're definitely going to do a page. This way everybody can go, instead of having to link up to Department of Community Affairs, they can hopefully get most of the information right from us.
Yeah, I think sometimes there's questions about, what do I need a permit for, so on and so forth out in the field, especially in the shops with the area managers and
Right.
just doing repairs.
And again, we've met personally, some now twice, with all the area managers, the project managers, the estimators, we've met with everybody to go over that. They're all given the information, everything that's part of the UCC, and they have that. I just did another one, a second one, because we had so many new employees come in the past 2 years and I'll continue to do that. If anybody needs us to come down to go over that stuff, just give me a call, we'll come down.
Will you accept permit application documents electronically, or do you want everything on
Yes.
copy?
We are accepting now anything electronically, except drawings. I got to have signed, sealed, hard copy drawings. But if you go onto the UCC site, they're all there, and you can just type in the information and send them. We are accepting that. And I only need single sheet, on each text sheet.
What should we tell the contractor the turnaround time will be on permits when we either have a contract with them or?
Once I have everything, we usually turn everything over in less than a week. The problem is a lot of people bypass Dave's group. So when that comes in, if I don't have Jeff Livingston's signature on it, those drawings have to go to that. And that could be a couple weeks with the backlog. So people get frustrated because they're waiting for permits, but and drawings should be going out as soon as you can get them to Dave's group. The quicker you get them, the better, because once they review them and sign them off, I get them, we store them in our department for a year until the permits come forward.
Could you compare our in-house turnaround review time to DCA's review time?
Dave's group, probably, like I said, it's probably a 2-week turnaround by the time they're logged in and released. DCA is 4 to 7 months. So that's how quick between his department and my department we get you guys working and get you your permits. Greg, do you have a question?
Yeah, where do you start, where do you stop with PSE&G and the water company as far as utilities coming from the connection into the building? Where do you start, where do you stop?
Okay, if it's a municipal tie-in, I'll use Camden for example. There's there's utilities being connected there now. Technically we are 10 feet from the building out. The rest is the utility company. So PSE&G would handle that tie-in. Their water company would handle that tie-in. On Rutgers property, it's us. We inspect everything to the tie-in. We do have our utility department. We work with Teddy all the time, and we want to see those connections.
So if you're within campus,
Yes.
it's all you?
Yes, if it's our property, it's all of us.
The problem with gas on that though, isn't it, Scott?
I'm sorry?
Gas has some issues, correct?
Yes.
Public service has the gas on campus.
Public service has the gas everywhere. That comes from their main to the building. We have no say on gas. Water, electric, that's us. And again, when we get into electric, we don't handle that connection. It's usually turned over to our electric company, our utility that handles that.
But if we're like down in Camden, and if we're tying into the municipal line, okay? I mean, they come into the building to the meter, and that's where they stop?
No, they stop. Their jurisdiction is 10 feet from the building. It's ours the rest of the way.
Scott, when a building's just about ready to open, what are your biggest challenges that you're expected to give the final CO?
Well, our biggest thing is life safety. We can get a building open with life safety, but I can't without life safety being 100%. We've had areas of buildings where we just section off that can't use that area, but I need the life safety stuff up and operating.
Don't we have a problem right now in an existing building is trying to get an occupancy where we couldn't open the doors?
Yeah, they're having an issue with negative pressure, so the building is ready to go, and until they get that corrected, we can't.
So we shut the power off, we went on emergency generator, nobody can get out of the building, right?
That's correct.
That was part of the inspection.
Yes.
Scott, we have many retail spaces throughout the university. Is there any guidelines or procedures in place that kind of would stop, not to say that it's happened, but we make sure that if somebody has a leased space, they have to go out and bring in a contractor because it's part of the contract of the university. What kind of controls are in place they don't pull a permit, let's just say, and they're just out there doing it on their own, and not notifying facilities or anyone.
We would do a stop work order. We do not, again, we do not, money does not come into our department, so I cannot issue fines. We just don't issue fines. It would be a stop work order. But again, those vendors have to come into us, same as anybody else. You've got to go through Dave's group, and then it comes to us with the permits. Same, everything at Rutgers now is like your hometown, wherever you guys live. It's like you're going to do change your furnace in your home. You have to go to the city. Same thing here. We run our department just like we're a regular, a normal construction department. There's no difference.
Any other questions? Yes.
Is the, like the fire inspection group, are they part of the plan review process? Because oftentimes we've had completed projects that get hit up with fire code violations, let's say 6 months, 6 weeks after the fact. I mean, are they involved? So
Yes, they're supposed to be at the turn pages also, yes.
Yeah, I'd like to say something about that. Drawings come into my group for review within my group. There are lots of agencies within the university, such as fire and REHS and so forth. We don't distribute to those people. It's up to the project manager to make sure the documents get to those outside groups.
Yeah, that's correct. And the way it works now too with drawings, we used to store a lot of the drawings. We don't do that anymore. Once the drawing is stamped by me, it goes back to the project manager. We do not handle any of the drawings. You know, we stop doing that. They have to go back to the project manager, and they have to be stored properly through him or her.
So Scott, let me ask you, so once we're issued a fire code violation, and I don't want to keep beating this dead horse.
That's okay.
And I come to you and I say, Scott, and you tell me, no, Jeff, this meets code. What is my next step? Will you give me an email, a paper, an authorization that would override?
Absolutely. Whatever you need, an email, a letter, or even we sit down and meet with the fire people.
Stick.
Or we'll meet with the fire to find out why they're violating.
All right.
So if I'm changing out a piece of equipment in the area, who pulls the permit for that? Would that be the area manager, the PE, the mechanic themselves?
It should be the person who's doing the work. We still allow, through an agreement with the state, that certain employees here can pull permits. Your electrical, any of your journeyman people can pull permits. They can fill out the permit when they sign the permit, they do exempt app. That has been approved by the state for us to do that.
And that's just for their particular journeyman trade, or?
That is correct. That is correct. Anything else?
Alterations, right? The electricians.
Wait a minute, can I ask, can the carpenters and the fitters and everything pull those same permits on work that they're doing in?
Normally, on the building side, the project manager can pull the permit.
Right.
As a Rutgers project. The sign and seal, the signed, we don't require them to seal them, can be done by either the electrical journeyman or the plumbing journeyman.
Is there a plumbing journeyman now? There is one there.
What's his name?
Well, we
I know electrical.
You have the construction side and the maintenance side. The maintenance is, that's where they on a staff pulls their own permits. Not your carpenters, Greg.
Right, but we do
They're a different type of staff.
under plumbing right now, basically through the university, John Lynch, because he's a licensed plumber, has been signed sealing his own. But a journeyman can do it if they're here.
I didn't know they had a journeyman plumbing yet, though. That's what I'm talking about.
It's
No.
Switch, yeah.
No, all electricians, everybody that does electrical work in a university has to have a journeyman certification.
Right.
What it is. Plumbing is not under that yet.
Okay, yeah, but there
And
is
it's probably
somebody
in
on
that.
staff that's signing and sealing,
Yeah.
yes.
carpentry, there is no such thing.
That's correct. So a lot of times with the
So-
building end of it, the project manager.
So an example, let's do an example. We're gonna petition this room off. So now we're petitioning this room off, you need a permit.
Yes.
And Jeff back there, his guys, somebody from the planner, from the facility side of the planning or estimator is gonna do this job. So in order to issue that permit, there has to be a set of signed and sealed drawings.
Correct.
Now, what may happen is somebody may just draw something up here and go to one of our architects, and he would review it, or she would review it, say, it all meets code, I'll sign and seal it. So now we got the permit, we got that, we got the drawing. Question is, who signs for the permit? There's no carpentry journeyman there. The planner estimators aren't licensed to do it. So who signs for that permit?
The project manager for the building end of it can sign for that permit. For
Without
building.
a license?
What license is required? There is
Okay.
no license for building except for a home renovation.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's what I'm trying,
Right.
say petition this room off would require a permit because you're now dealing with egress, yada, 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 fire ratings and all these other stuff,
Yes.
so it's there.
Yes.
Okay.
And then again, if there's electrical work in there, the
journeyman electrical person will do it. Now we're gonna be putting sprinklers in. We're gonna do that. Well, is there a fitter license?
We don't have anybody for sprinklers.
No, so that is usually an outside vendor that handles that.
Oh, I see, so we would have to, okay,
Yep.
that answers that question.
Would
Yeah,
be one
I'm
of our
trying to use
vendors.
this room as an example.
We don't have any fitters?
What about us?
No, they don't do sprinklers are done by sprinkler people, he's right.
Really?
Yeah. There's fitters can do it, but sprinkler people do it.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody knows better, that Ken Schuhart
Yeah.
has it now and is willing to do some of it. I know Mike Earps' group used to do it, but I don't know if Lynch's group does it.
Lynch's group doesn't do it.
Lynch's group don't do it?
No, and the Sugar group only does, is catching up with like violations and stuff like
Is
that.
that what- okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we got it all covered. All right, so there's the answer. I'm sorry, I
It's
didn't
okay.
throw it.
Scott,
Yes.
for a licensed healthcare facility, for projects, I know we go through DOH, healthcare plan review and training. But if Chris Pepsin has something in a licensed healthcare facility that requires a permit, what would they need to do? Can they come straight to you for permit, or do we need to go through DOH?
Again, Shai, you guys are better at that than myself. A lot of the renovation projects, we don't have to go to the state for review. We can do it in-house. Shai's group, which is the medical side, have a little bit different rules, and I basically I go off of what they tell me they need to, has to go to the state. A normal renovation in one of their buildings would not have to go to the state for a review.
Right.
We would keep it in-house.
But you would look for the prior approval if it was, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I'd have to get, everything would come from the state on the review. All new buildings, the state review. They review.
Well, the prior approval for healthcare facilities have additional codes to it that the Uniform Construction Code does not enforce.
That is correct. That's
Right.
why that would have to go to the state for review. And sometimes they come back. They'll let us do that. We've had class ones go to the state and they're returned, but then we're told that we can do the review. So it all depends what it
Yeah, I
is.
think one of the biggest ones I saw was where the emergency generator in a healthcare facility has to have a different fuel level than we require for the Uniform Construction Code. So they're going under the healthcare facility code.
Really?
Any other questions?
What kind of fuel?
Has to be diesel.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much for coming today, Scott. Thank you, great presentation. We are doing about one a month and we're booked for the year and into 2019 already. But if you have a subject matter that you'd like to bring to us, let me know. Elizabeth.Cran, CRANN, @rutgers.edu. And we'll get you on the schedule. We've got we're up to February, I guess, of 2019. But if we have cancellation or something, then, we had to move somebody up the list. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you got something out of it tonight. Thanks.
How do we know if the people will tell us right away?
We'll tell you.